Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the video. Welcome to my garage. What we're going to be doing in this video is first we're going to be making a fiberglass bulkhead panel for the bulkhead here, and we're also going to be making a Lexan windshield for Wratchet. So for starters, what I just told you is a little bit inaccurate because the bulkhead panel here I already made. I actually was kind of making that at the same time that I made these panels. So this panel is ready to go. What I've got here is just the ram board template that I made to lay it out. But let me swap this out to the panel so that we can get moving on the Lexan windshield. So on Mahler, the other Baja, sometimes depending on where I go, Mahler actually has a Lexan windshield that just pops into the bug body on the weather stripping. And what I do sometimes when I'm going to a place, I'll actually pop it out because sometimes it's a little bit more fun to be driving around without the windshield. So whatever I came up with for Wratchet here, I wanted to be able to try to make it so the windshield was pretty easy to pop in and out. Now Mahler's windshield is a standard Volkswagen windshield and it goes straight across. The Lexan's not in here right now, but the problem that I was having a little bit is because it's so flat, sometimes the Lexan would have a little bit of a bubble to it because it was really just laying in there. And that wasn't horrible, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. So when I was considering installing the center bar on Wratchet, I wanted to see if I could actually push the bottom out a little bit so that when the Lexan actually laid across here, it would actually have to bow across this, and in doing that it would kind of give the whole windshield structure. It wouldn't allow it to just lay there and be warped because it would be bowing to go around that pole. At least that's my thought. So I put in this center bar and it connects up at the top, but it comes out farther than the two side bars. You can clearly see it right there. I think it comes out 3 inches farther. And then also in doing that, I put this little kicker here because with this on an angle like this, it really doesn't offer any support up to this, and this just makes it much stronger. I actually originally put a bar from here all the way up to here, but when I was sitting in the driver's seat, that really felt like it took a lot of visibility away, so I ditched that bar and put this smaller bar here. And this smaller bar actually comes up and intersects just a little bit below where my line of vision is. So actually, if you're just looking straight out from the driver's seat, this doesn't really mess with your vision at all. I know that it's a lot less strong, but you know, I need to be able to see out the front windshield. So once I had the center bar installed here, then I made a cardboard cutout of roughly what the windshield would be. Like that, and it's got that bow to it and everything. And what I did for this, the same way I made the actual windshield frame, because I wanted this to be perfectly symmetrical from side to side, is I actually, when I made this cardboard template, it's actually two pieces. They're completely independent. And what I did basically is I just made one side and then I traced out the other side. So both halves of this are 100% exactly the same. And that will make it so that when you put this up here to the eyeball, it's going to look symmetrical. And I could only do that because that's the exact same way I built the windshield frame. I made it in two pieces, and I was stacking the two pieces on top of each other and making sure that the notches, the lengths, the angles, everything was exactly the same. So when I put it together and tacked it on here, this windshield was perfectly symmetrical, which it will be now because I also made both halves perfectly symmetrical, so that from the eyeball, you're not going to see minor differences from one side to the other. So if I hold this up here with my magnets, you start to get an idea of what it's going to look like. And you can see that having this bar come out here, gives it a little bit of a flare down here. And personally, I think it looks pretty good, but we'll see how it looks when I cut this out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this over to my sheet of Lexan. The sheet of Lexan I have right now is only 1/8 of an inch thick. It's an 1/8 inch thick in Mauler, but I think this one I'm going to eventually want to make it 3/16, maybe even thicker than that. I'm not sure, but I want to have the windshield on here while I'm building the chassis, because having stuff in place helps me kind of visualize what I'm building. But there's a pretty good chance that by the time I'm done building Wratchet, this windshield will have been hit by some welding sparks and whatnot. So for this windshield, since it might be not the end game windshield, I'm only making it out of 1/8 inch right now. But I'm going to take this over, trace it out very carefully, then I'm going to take my grinder and just very cleanly cut it out, and then probably hit it with a grinder flapper wheel to clean everything up, and then we'll take it back and see how it looks. Alright guys, let's take a look and see what we've got. I have not peeled off the protective plastic yet, so it's got a very hazy look to it, but I'm really liking it so far. I think it looks really good. I do probably need some straps up here. I'm not going to add those right now because this is a little bit of a work in progress, but more than likely when I actually get to driving this thing, I'll need one up there because it's about an 1/8 inch off there. But everything else feels good. It does, because of this bar coming out, it's giving it a little bit of pressure here, so it's not just hanging there, it's actually under a little bit of pressure. I didn't film me cutting these little slots, but I ran around and cut little slots around here so that I can run around and just hold it on with this Velcro. And this Velcro is the permanent solution, but I am going to get some Velcro that's a little bit better than this. They've got Velcro that has little rings so that you can draw it back upon itself tighter. I will get that when I can find some. And right now I think this looks really good. I'm really happy with it, but I do want to add a little bit of a black border around the edge. So I'm going to take this back off. I'm going to peel the plastic off of one side, and I'm going to tape off probably about 1 inch all the way around. I'll give it a little bit of a radius, and I'll run a strip up through here. I'm going to tape that off, and then I'm going to spray it with some black paint from the back side so that from the front side here it looks like it has a little bit of a trim ring around it, and you won't see the roll bar through there. So I think that'll give it a little bit of a trick look. really happy with how this came out. I think it has a really nice look to it. It's super functional. It's got that bow in there because that center bar is pushed out a little bit. Having that bow in there just kind of forces the Lexan into a little bit of a shape, so it's not just hanging there like it does on Mahler a little bit. The black edge around the perimeter and going down the middle, I think somehow just gives it a little bit of a feel that there's some weather stripping there. The paint that I used on there is actually radio controlled car paint. It's actually meant for plastic. It kind of bonds to the plastic a little bit, and I painted it from the backside, so it's painted back here. So up front you can't scratch that, and it will always have a real glossy finish. And then because it's bonded, where it leans up against the roll bar here, it'll be pretty resilient. And when this is actually a finished product, I'll probably have some weather stripping back there for a little bit of padding, but I obviously won't do that until it's completely done. And then also bear in mind, you know, the front portion of the chassis is painted this satin black, so you can really see the contrast right now between the raw metal and this black, but at some point in time this will be satin black as well, so the roll bar won't stick out as much as it does now. And then I threw my light bar back up there. I made this several weeks back, and I actually had a video on making that, but the video was actually not very good. So I am going to redo a video on that, because that was actually a fun build, and I think it's a cool looking light bar. I think it adds a lot of style to the roof line here on Wratchet. And then as you can see, for the light covers, I made them look like emojis, so that's kind of cool. But either way, I'll highlight that in another video. And then I kept the black perimeter real small. The camera right now is pretty much where your head would be if you were sitting inside Wratchet here, and you can see that black perimeter really doesn't obscure your vision at all. I kept it real narrow in the middle so that it didn't obscure anything, because that's a little bit of a blind spot right now, but it's not too bad. So that's it for this video, guys. Like I said, typically I maybe wouldn't even highlight something like this because it wasn't really like a humongous project or anything, but when I was starting to lay pieces out, like the cardboard templates, I thought it looked really good, and I was kind of excited about the fact that I got the idea for this Velcro, so that if I'm somewhere and I don't want the windshield, all I have to do is pop the Velcro and the windshield's gone. If I'm somewhere and I decide I want the windshield, I just put it back on there, Velcro it, and you're good to go. And as a matter of fact, I got that idea from my next door neighbor. Has a Polaris Razor, and this is how his windshield is held on. It's just got these velvet straps around the corners and up through the middle. And I saw that and I thought, dang, that's a good idea. I'm gonna do that for Wratchet. So that's it for this video. Hope it's helping you guys with whatever you're working on, and I hope to see you guys on the next video. Take care.